Overpowered MC, adorably cute monster companion, system power fantasy, 12 books, and a narration by the one and only Travis Baldree. Today, we are talking about the Unbound series by one of the kindest people in fantasy, Nicoli Gonnella. Hey darling, Boyce here. Welcome back to my channel. Here it is my goal to help you find your next book obsession, as always. I am cozy, I am ready to dive in, and I am so excited about today's video. Today we're looking at Dissonance by Nicoli Gonnella, the first book in the Unbound series, and I'm going to help you figure out if this belongs on your TBR or your, I almost cussed, absolutely not list. Let's do that. Side note, I think Nicoli is a truly awesome person, but I am going to do my best to be as unbiased as possible so that you can figure out whether or not this book is really for you. Nicoli, don't be mad at me. Okay, let's get some of the basics down. Book 1 has over 10,000 reviews on Amazon alone, with a 4.6 average rating overall on Amazon. But there are a staggering 107,000 reviews across the series on Amazon and Goodreads combined. What does that mean, right? Yes, it's impressive, but readers aren't just finding this series, right? They're devouring it and they're coming back for more. Now, this is really important. This book has readers fighting in the comments, and I'm going to help you figure out which camp you're in before you spend your money and your valuable time on the book. If you're tired of TBR disappointments and overhyped series, please hit subscribe. It's my goal to help you figure out your next book obsession and which book you're going to dive into next. So, a little bit of quick housekeeping. This is a first look where I break down reader reactions to help you and I both decide if we want to add this to our TBR. Also, as an aside, if you are one of my lovely romance readers, I have got to stop you here. This does not fall under the romance genre. There is no spice, nor is there a romance that's integral, at least to book 1 and overall to the series, I think, as well. So please just keep that in mind. Now, this is book 1 of a 12-book series, as I've said, as I've beat into your head at this point. LitRPG progression fantasy with an overpowered MC, an adorable monster companion, a weak to strong main character, and isekai portal fantasy vibes. Okay, so what's this about? What's the pitch, right? A self-proclaimed coward from Earth gets isekai'd into a monster-filled system world where he literally eats his enemies to gain their powers. Here's the thing though, this power allows him to become so absurdly overpowered that readers are split about whether or not it robs the later books of true stakes and tension, which is a fair criticism, but we're gonna dive into that in a lot more detail later on in this video. Now, this is book 1 of a 12-book series. I don't think I've told you that yet. Did I tell you that there's 12 books? Yeah, there's 12 books. I'm such an asshole. So this is book 1, and I need to tell you something about book 2 that might affect whether you want to even start this at all. So I'm going to get to that in a minute. Just wanted to tease you for a second. First, here's what we discover as we go through book 1. The continent is a system-based fantasy world with levels, stats, skills, the whole progression package. Hostile wilderness, ancient ruins, monsters everywhere, and a society that does not trust outsiders like our hero, Felix. So our main character is Felix, a 30-year-old from Earth who, by his own admission, is a coward. I mean, dead-end jobs, ruined relationships, apartment smaller than a closet. Then he gets thrown into this world where even the insects are more powerful than him, apparently. I like that detail, that's fun. Okay, so why doesn't he die in chapter 1, right? Everything is stacked against him. Well, it boils down to the power he acquires when he's brought over to the continent. And as I mentioned before, his core power comes from eating monsters. For example, he ends up biting a tentacle in desperation during one fight, and he gains what is called the gourmand skill, which, I won't lie, sounds super fucking gross. But this isn't played out for gross out humor. It becomes an interesting and, quite frankly, really clever progression mechanic that defines his entire power path in ways I really don't want to spoil for you, but I want to give you enough detail to help you choose what camp you're in. So we're really going to dive into the meat and grit of that in a little bit. Really good LitRPG, as you know, has levels. And in my opinion, this series really qualifies. On the surface, this is an action-heavy system fantasy, but underneath that adventure, this book is about transformation and agency. Felix was a man who felt powerless in his old life. He was too afraid to take any risks, and the continent gives him the means to take back control over his life. It gives him power. More importantly, though, it gives him the potential to be something more, should he find the courage to act on it. The writing style is accessible and fast-paced from everything I could find, and it keeps the pages turning. And one of the fan favorite things that really makes it work is the Felix and Pitt relationship. Pitt is Felix's bonded chimera companion, who is adorable, and readers from the 5 stars to the critical reviews, they all agree that this is a praiseworthy dynamic. So if you love animal companions in your fantasy, this one's really going to deliver. Oh, and the audiobook. Travis Baldree narrates, and the reviews are unanimous. Master tier narrator. Every voice is different. Multiple readers said they would actually rate the series higher, specifically because of Travis's performance. So if you're an audiobook listener, this one is worth picking up for Baldree alone. Now, if you're already adding this to your TBR, or you're just here to hear me drone on about any old nonsense, go ahead and hit that like button so the algorithm knows you're into this, I guess. Okay, so the thing you need to know before you pick up book 1 is the massive debate about whether Felix's rapid, some would say convenient power acquisition is a feature that delivers satisfying power fantasy or a bug that removes tension and stakes from the narrative. We're going to go into this in really deep detail here in a second to help you figure out what side you're on. But on one side, you've got readers saying, yes, this is what I came for. You know, they embrace the overpowered MC trope fully. They want to watch him demolish obstacles. To those readers, the power-ups are, a feature, not a bug. Now, I know that's pretty high level. I really do like to sink my teeth into these kinds of debates, and I've got some amazing feedback from you guys that you want it in, you want more detail about this stuff. So buckle up, because I'm about to go in. All right, so let's figure out which camp you're in. But don't worry, I'm going to keep this spoiler free. I just want to focus on the facts, the pros, and the cons. So let's start with the facts. The gourmand mechanic. Now, we talked about this a little bit ago, but this becomes Felix's signature ability. It comes from a desperate moment early on in the story. Tentacle monster, he bites it, shit I say in this job. But that's how he unlocks the gourmand skill. And this skill allows him to absorb power, stats, abilities, etc. by consuming the monsters he defeats. It's pretty straightforward. From what I can tell, this isn't a slow drip upgrade system. It's a fire hose. And it really seems like his power trajectory is steep and fast. I mean, we go from tentacle monster, which I'm sorry, I cannot say with a straight face. I'm so sorry, I'm trying. From a tentacle monster to fighting primordial dragons and gods within a few books. So it is pretty accelerated. So let's talk about how the power-ups arrive. According to reviewers, Felix often gains exactly what he needs right when he needs it. The system presents quests and rewards that some say conveniently solve his current problems. Some reviewers describe this as the system handing out everything that Felix needs. But let's really take a look at both sides of the divide, because it's important that we know which side you're on, because that's going to help us decide if this is going to be for you or not. It really comes down to this. Okay, so camp number 1. Those who love power fantasy. Readers in this camp argue that the overpowered MC is a staple trope and in a way a genre all its own. Now, I don't really agree with that. I really do see it as a favorite trope or preferred trope more than a genre of its own, but I'm getting into the weeds here and you probably don't care. When you pick up a book tagged OPMC or Power Fantasy, in my opinion, you are signing up for a very specific experience. This camp knows what they're getting. They want it anyway. For these readers, the power is the point. They don't want to watch Felix struggle against level-matched threats. They want to watch a former coward become unstoppable. Think about who Felix was on Earth. Dead-end jobs, failed relationships, etc. Self-described coward who avoided risk, and now he's eating freaking dragons and absorbing their power. As you do. For readers who have ever felt stuck or limited or powerless in their own lives, watching Felix shatter every limitation is vicarious satisfaction. I mean, let's be real. The rapid progression isn't a bug to this camp. It's almost like escapist medicine. These readers also frame the book as a popcorn read, and they mean that as a compliment. Not everything needs to be this carefully balanced opus with challenges, earned progression, and near-death struggles. Sometimes you just want to watch the protagonist win overwhelmingly and punch shit. I saw a lot of people saying that they enjoyed the ride, and that it's a fun story, that it has all the action and fantasy that you could ever need. They really love the adventure, the escapism, and the action-driven story. Additionally, some people in this camp note that Gonnella built the gourmand mechanic intentionally. I mean, Felix's rapid power acquisition, it's not a plot hole or lazy writing. It's a core mechanic of the story. The book is about someone who gains power quickly by consuming monsters. That's its essence. Of course, he's going to become OP at an accelerated rate. That's the premise. Okay, but let's be fair and let's go look at camp number 2. Those who think the story has no stakes. So, alternatively, there's this second camp. These readers are saying, they're not saying that overpowered MCs are inherently bad. That's not what this is about. They're saying that the journey to becoming OP should feel earned. The struggle, the growth, the learning to this camp, to these readers, that's what makes the power acquisition satisfying. For these readers, power without price is hollow. And if you're in this camp, your specific complaint about Unbound will probably be that Felix doesn't earn his power through enough strategy, sacrifice, or hard-won experience. You may feel that he gets it handed to him. Now, from what I can tell, there seems to be plenty of struggle in the story, just not as much as I think camp number 2 really likes. I really try not to insert my opinions too much into these overviews and these first looks, so I'm really trying to keep my soapboxing at bay and just tell you what the readers are saying. So back to camp number 2. It's important to remember that LitRPG as a genre is built on systems. Duh, right? Stats, levels, skills, these create rules that govern the world. The physics, so to speak, of these fantasy realms. Part of the appeal is understanding those rules and watching characters navigate them. Or, one of my favorites, find exploits. But when Felix wins fights that his stats say he shouldn't win, a lot of people in this camp say that the system stops mattering and the stakes diminish, even as the action remains fun. If the numbers don't actually determine the outcomes, the argument here is why have numbers at all? So I don't want to give away any spoilers, but he does defeat a massive enemy in book 1, an enemy he shouldn't have really won against. That creates a dangerous cycle for elevating the stakes throughout the series. When you set that precedence in book 1, the author has to keep escalating the threats to match Felix's OP power, and a lot of readers don't have faith that is possible. If Felix can't meaningfully fail, some readers can't meaningfully care. And this connects to the age maturity mismatch complaint I saw in a couple of reviews. Felix is 30, but some readers feel like he doesn't act or think with the weight of someone with 30 years of life experience. I saw that come up a couple times. I'm not sure if I agree with it, but in the end, I really wanted to highlight that was a complaint I saw more than once. When you combine that with the constant winning, some people feel like he can feel more like a video game avatar than a character. So really just a vehicle for power acquisition. So that brings us to the big question. Is this a flaw or is this a feature? Yeah, okay, so I lied. I'm definitely going to wax poetic here for a minute. As an author, I have thoughts. In my opinion, In my opinion, from talking with the author in the interview that's coming up next week, and from what I found online, Gonnella created the gourmand mechanic on purpose. This isn't an accidental power creep, it's the core system of the book. Felix's rapid acquisition is baked into the premise from the very beginning. It's the OP protagonist trope done with a power fantasy lens, and that's what he wanted to write because that's what he likes to read. So, in my opinion, the author knew what he was building, and he did it on purpose. So the question isn't, did he fail at that balance? It's, did he succeed at power fantasy? I think that's what it boils down to. If you don't like power fantasy with the accelerated growth trope, I don't think you're going to like this story, and that's okay. Both camps are probably right about what they're experiencing. The book delivers exactly what one audience wants and exactly what another audience doesn't want. From what I could tell, this isn't a quality discussion where one group is correct, It's a preferential divide where readers with different needs have different experiences with the content. But let's bring this back to you. Here's the make or break. Your tolerance for the overpowered MC trope determines everything. If you love watching an underdog become absurdly powerful through system exploitation, if the catharsis of removing all limitations satisfies you, I think the series is going to deliver for you. If you need deep earned progression, consistent power scaling, and debilitating consequences to stay invested, I think this will frustrate you regardless of how great the writing is. Okay, so after all of that, which side are you on? Team power fantasy or team earned progression? I want to know, so please leave me a comment down below. I want to see how divided the camp is. I'm excited. I'll get off my soapbox now. Let's move on to the series as a whole. Before I give you the verdict on who will like this and who will hate it, we kind of did that, but there's a little more I want to go into. There are a few more things I want you to know. These paperbacks are bricks. The audiobooks average about 25 hours or more each. This is a marathon commitment, not a weekend read. Unless you are a mutant, of which I have met several. So here's what the marketing doesn't tell you. Book 2 is widely acknowledged as the weakest entry, even by fans. It drops in rating, though it's still over 4 stars, and some complain that it just has too much filler. The series recovers, though, and takes off again by book 3, or like book 3 or 4, but I really wanted you to know that going in. All right, here's the bottom line. Who is going to love this and who should skip it? First, know what you're getting into. This book feels fast, action-heavy, momentum-driven. The pages turn easily. Gonnella has poured all his skill and writing chops into making these books unput-downable. You're not asked to contemplate or savor, you're asked to join the ride with Felix as he becomes increasingly powerful. The prose is fluid, it's well done, the action is constant, and the progression is, like we've talked about, explosive. So, you'll love this if you are a LitRPG or progression fantasy fan who loves OPMCs. This delivers that trope without apology, as we've talked about. I think you will love this if you are into audiobooks, because Travis Baldree elevates the material, and multiple reviewers say that they rate the series higher specifically because of Travis. You will love this if you want action-heavy power fantasy without apology. You'll also love this if you love a great companion bond. Felix and Pitt's relationship provides emotional grounding that readers consistently praise. And you'll love this if you are looking for a long tail series to invest in. 12 books, a committed author, books so thick you could build a fence with them. And this series has it all. However, you should skip this if you want meticulously earned, careful progression. Because, as we've talked about, it can feel very convenient and rapid. Skip it if you won't push through a weak entry, because as we discussed, book 2 is reportedly rough. Don't read this if you need character depth over action. This is very action forward, and while character growth is absolutely present, a lot of critics argue that the character arcs aren't the series' strength. And also, this one might not be for you if you need balanced pacing with character moments and chances for the characters to breathe in between action. And while there's definitely downtime, there's a lot of criticism that there isn't enough downtime and that it makes the story feel kind of breathless and rushed. Okay, I just dumped a hell of a lot on your brain, so let's wrap all this up in a neat little bow. If you love Defiance of the Fall for the overpowered MC energy and the system-based progression, readers say Unbound is similar and really well written. If you loved Hugh Fights with Monsters, this has similar scope and commitment level in terms of the series being so long and each book being so large. But if you loved Cradle for its careful scaling, you might be disappointed. So the bottom line is, this is for LitRPG fans who want power fantasy without apology and can handle a 12-book commitment with one acknowledged leak entry. If that's you, grab it. The links are in the description below. As a side note, I'm pretty sure my affiliates program expired. I should really check on that. So it may or may not be an affiliate link. If it is, I get like 25 cents or whatever, so no pressure. This one is available on Kindle, Kindle Unlimited, paperback, and audiobook, of course. Okay, so how much did I get right? This is a first look, so I based all of this on my research. I want to know, did I miss anything you want to discuss? Have you read Dissonance? Are you team power fantasy or team earned progression? Comment below. I want to hear your hot take. And, shameless plug, if this helped you decide whether to read or not, please hit subscribe. I post new book breakdowns and author interviews every week. Give it a like if you're adding this to your TBR, or if I saved you from a bad decision. Happy reading, my darling. I will see you in the next one. Bye.